Magnificent Barefoot Training. Your magnificent body starts here.
Carl Powell III is a classic and has become one of the most well-known and well-respected fitness experts in the business. For over 30 years, Carl has traveled the globe, training and entertaining audiences with his unique approach to total wellness. For 20 years, Carl presented his work at fitness conventions and conferences before changing his focus to personal wellness. While living abroad, he had the opportunity to sell fitness products on QVC Germany, train fitness and dance instructors, and share his motivational skills with U.S. troops. His work has also been featured in Ebony magazine. Carl is a mind-body coach and a certified yoga and Pilates instructor, and has been certified by the American Council on Exercise and the Aerobic and Fitness Association of America.
Your magnificent body starts here. Welcome to Magnificent Barefoot Training. Claudia Miko is one of my very best friends and one of my very favorite instructors. About 20 years ago, Claudia and I started working together and started what we called mind-body stuff, but we really hadn't defined what we were doing. About 15 years ago, we traveled through Europe and did a yoga training. And as we did our yoga training, we discovered that there was more to it than just yoga. Claudia is here with me, and we'll be back in just a moment.
There are no haters, just those that lack an adequate supply of love. Give a love lacker a hug today. Spread the sunshine and watch their eyes light up. Coco Brown.
Welcome back to Magnificent Barefoot Training. Claudia Miko is here with me today. Welcome, Claudia.
Thank you, Carl, for having me.
And why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
I live on the island of Maui, and I'm an instructor there. I've been teaching for the past 27 years, and I teach all aspects of fitness, weight training, yoga, Pilates. I'm also a clinical hypnotherapist, as well as a massage therapist.
So your business is called HypnoFit. Could you explain what is HypnoFit?
Well, HypnoFit started because when I would work with clients doing personal training, I found that they always had lofty goals, but for some reason, there would be something inside them where they maybe couldn't achieve their goals. Mm-hmm. And it would drive me pretty much crazy because, we had the diet stuff, we would do the exercise stuff, but then there was just that missing component. And I learned self-hypnosis around 25 years ago, and it always worked for me. So I decided to go ahead and learn hypnotherapy and get my license so that I could integrate that into my fitness training and help clients achieve their goals.
This journey was a little bit more difficult for me because I came from the school of jump and run and kick and scream. And so when I started fitness, I started teaching fitness classes in 1980. And basically what we did was, it wasn't even aerobics yet. We would run people around the gym in a circle for about a half of an hour. And then when that half an hour was over, with very little cool down, we'd bring them right down to the floor and do floor work. And then the fitness industry changed and choreographed aerobics became much more prevalent. And so when choreographed aerobics became prevalent, I became crazy about choreography. They called me Choreography Carl, because that's what all I wanted to do.
You're a fantastic choreographer.
I wanted to jump and kick and turn and spin, and it was a wonderful feeling. But at the time, I of course, was younger myself. Mm-hmm. When Claudia came to Germany, we decided we were going to go around and she was going to do yoga trainings, and I was just going to turn on the CD. That was my job. Simply turn on the CD and make sure everyone signed up. And eventually, probably after about 6 or 7 sessions, we'd gone around to a few different places. She said to me one day, well, why don't you teach a portion of the class? You know what it is. And reluctantly, I got up there and taught a portion of the class. And eventually, over time, I started teaching a little bit more of the training and a little bit more of the training. And then it really started to sink in for me. I really started to understand the importance of slowing down and giving attention. Because we always say, pay attention. What's the difference between pay attention and give attention?
Well, paying costs. Paying costs you something. And giving comes more from the heart. It's just kind of a play on words. And that's what's so interesting about learning hypnosis is learning about words and how words affect your feelings, your thoughts, and how words really affect everything that happens in our life, because we think typically in words and images.
And we're going to talk about that in a minute. We're doing a segment called Mind Stuff. And Mind Stuff came from a book called The Magic of Believing. And I have to tell this story. About 20 years ago, Claudia gave me a book, The Magic of Believing. And I love the cover, so I thought, what a pretty book. I put it up on my shelf, and it sat there for just about 20 years, and I never read it. And a few months ago, Phyllis Diller passed, and I went on YouTube because I wanted to see Phyllis Diller tell jokes. And there was a video, Phyllis Diller, The Magic of Believing, and I thought, what could this be about? And I turned the video on, and I listened to her words, and she was talking about how this book changed her life by Claude Bristol. And I went on to Amazon and I decided I wanted to buy this book. I click on the link and the picture of the book comes up and I think, that looks really, really familiar to me. And of course it was the book that Claudia had given me 20 years ago. But I always think all things in their time, you know, not all things that are given to you at that moment or for you at that moment. And I guess that was just my moment to understand what the magic of believing was. And it probably was a time when I needed it. I think information comes to you, filters through your life when you need it. And I immediately grabbed the book off the shelf, read it all in one night, and just was amazed by, it said exactly what I was thinking. And what I was thinking is, be very careful of the words you put in your mouth, because the words you put in your mouth become your reality.
I think it's interesting that you kept the book for so long.
I like the cover.
Because you like the cover. But with all your travels in life, that the book still was a part of your life.
Yeah. Well, you know, books are always been a big part of my life. And if there's one thing I have a lot of, other than nerve, is books. I have a lot of nerve and I have a lot of books. And my books, I've traveled through Germany, I lived in Europe, I traveled all through Asia. I carried those books with me and I kept carrying that book and I kept saying, one day I'm going to read it, one day I'm going to read it. But it came to me exactly when, in the time and space that I needed it.
Yeah, and when you mentioned that you found that book, I had forgotten all about it, actually. But I had to go back in my mind and remember, what book was that? Oh yeah, that it's a sweet book.
Well, we're going to pause right here and we're going to come back with a segment called Mind Games. And we're going to have Roberta Isaacs, she's going to come and she's going to join us. And we're going to talk about words and how you can play games to keep yourself always positive, always learning, always just keeping your lights on.
All right.
We'll be back in just a minute.
Don't say you don't have enough time. You have exactly the same number of hours per day that were given to Helen Keller, Pasteur, Michelangelo, Mother Teresa, Leonardo da Vinci, Thomas Jefferson, and Albert Einstein.
Welcome back to Magnificent Barefoot Training. Do you ever notice how everything I do seems to be magnificent?
Yes.
Yes.
Let me just start off by welcoming Roberta. Welcome, Roberta Isaacs from Laurel, Maryland.
Hi, Roberta.
Hi, Roberta.
Hi. Hi.
And my wonderful friend Claudia Miko, visiting here from Hawaii.
Yeah.
Oh,
Welcome.
aloha.
Aloha.
I find that oftentimes it's very hard in this world, in the hustle and bustle, just to stay positive. And one of the things that I like to do, if you know me well, is play games. And so one of the games I like to play comes from wisdom cards that I got by Louise Hay. And I take the wisdom cards out, I randomly pick a few cards, and then I decide whatever those 3 or 4 cards that I pick for the day, that becomes my mission for the day. That is what I put my intention on. That is what I decide for the day that I am going to watch, focus on, and try to improve on. So what I did was I pulled some cards, Roberta pulled some cards, Claudia pulled some cards, and we're going to quiz each other. So I'm going to start with you all. This year, I do the mental work for positive change. So this year, how have you done the work for positive mental change in your life?
What I've done this year has been a very positive year for me. I retired and yay. And I didn't know what to do. I really didn't know what to do. And I had met Carl on and off through my
Experience.
I've experienced
You. Yeah. We've experienced each
me,
other. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And Carl has a twinkle in his eye, and it
I didn't pay her to say any of this.
it's very warm, and it gives you motivation. He loves what he's doing. He shows it with everything he has, his body, his mind, and his spirit, and he shares it with other people.
And that's what I try my best to do with all of my clients, but I'm glad you appreciate it. So Claudia, for you, what mental change have you made this year? What mental adjustment have you made this year?
This is a very good question. I have made several mental adjustments, but I'll start small to keep it simple. Mainly, I have learned and practiced to say no to things that I physically or mentally cannot take on in my life. So I used to be the person that would pick up all the extra work or be the one to pick up the extra classes or to do a lot of extra things. And I've learned that because I've had an illness recently, that I've had to say no to things. And it's been very liberating because it's turned into a positive thing, because when I say no now to certain things, I have the energy for the other things in my life that are most important to me.
Well, you certainly learned how to say no to me at a very young age.
That's right. I did. You taught me how to say no.
When Claudia worked for me, I said, Claudia, can you sub the class today? She'd be like, no, I have no time for that. Okay, Roberta, read us from one of your cards. Give us a question. Throw one at us.
How can I heal myself?
How can I heal myself? I heal myself with every breath that I take. I focus on always going in and noticing how I feel, noticing what I'm thinking, and then noticing, is it positive, negative, and necessary? Because a lot of the times the thing you feel or you think you're holding on to are not necessary. And I, just like anybody else, I'm subject to those negative thoughts and how they all culminate and just drive you crazy. For example, I'm going to use my yesterday example. Yesterday I went to Yelp to look at my listing, and someone had written a really negative review about my business. And I take my business on like it's me. I had people coming in, because I sold a Groupon at my business, and I had hundreds and hundreds of people calling at the same time. And I really handled the phone calls the best that I could, and every now and then something's going to fall through the cracks. That's life. But I'm always so used to being perfect in my business. Not perfect in my life, but perfect in my business. So that when I got criticized for not being perfect in my business, I took that on so personally. And I held on to it, and I was angry, and I went on Facebook, and I had to type, I'm angry, and I rocked back and forth, and I tried to lay down, and I couldn't sleep. And finally, I just said, you know what? This is something that I can't control. I can't control all things. And because I can't control all things, I don't have to own all things, and I don't have to carry it with me. And I just had to sit there, lay down, get quiet, and just keep reminding myself I cannot control other people, because other people's actions are their actions. Their feelings are their feelings. Their thoughts are their thoughts. Usually when someone throws something negative at you, it's something negative they're feeling themselves. And I feel like I'm not going to absorb your negative energy just because that's important to you. And so what I've really learned in my experience is not to hold on to other people's negative experience.
All right. My turn.
Your turn.
I am willing to learn something new every day.
Roberta, what do you learn new every day?
Every day is a new beginning. And every day I try and do something that is positive for me. Taking yoga actually opened my mind, my spirit, and my soul. When I came in to the magnificent body, I was a wreck. I would attest to that. I was a total wreck. And over time, working with Carl, he's given me the confidence. And I feel like such a different person. And it's been wonderful.
And that's been my goal, is every day to challenge you with something just a little different, because if I continue to keep you learning, I can continue to keep your interest. And that's my goal, is just always to keep your interest by always teaching you something just a little bit new. And Claudia gave me lots of new exercises, so boy, you're in trouble now.
And Coral has really, really challenged me. I can't believe the things that I am doing now. It's just amazing to me. And it's given me a whole different viewpoint of life and thoughts that I have of my own.
We're going to take a little pause right here, and we're going to come back with some more mind stuff. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Magnificent Barefoot Training. I'm now here joined with Claudia and Leslie. Leslie is one of the instructors of the Magnificent Body. Welcome, Leslie.
Thank you, Carl.
And we're going to start, before we do anything, just with some breathing. So we're going to connect our mind and body. Palms face upward, shield your eyes, find your sit bones. And let's just start taking a series of long, deep breaths in and out through your nose. Just getting our mind prepared for our discussion. Long, deep breaths. Spine is long and lifted. The shoulders are relaxed. Relax your jawline. Separate your teeth so that your jawline is relaxed. Long, deep breaths. Let's just take some positive breaths in. Breathing. Becoming aware. Becoming centered. Long, deep breaths. This is a great way to start or end any day, or in the middle of the day when you just need a coffee break. You can take a breath break. Long, deep breaths. And let's just move our fingers and our toes. And then soft eyes open. And let's get ready for Mind Games. Mind Games Part 2. So again, we have the Louise Hay cards, and we're just going to talk to each other about what's on our cards. So we're going to start with Leslie.
Okay.
I like the top one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgive myself for any wrongdoing.
I forgive myself for my Yelp review. And how do you forgive yourself for wrongdoing?
I try to do that every day, try to take stock at the end of the day and think about things that I've done that I wish I hadn't, or things that I wish I had done. And if I have the opportunity, I can go back through the day, or even years back sometimes, and really think about things that I've done, go over them, process them again, and try to forgive by the end of the day. And in that same vein, try to forgive things that are done to me, too,
Right.
which is a whole nother story.
Yeah,
but-
but in order to forgive others, you have
Right.
to forgive yourself first,
Yeah.
because it starts with you.
It does.
When you can come from a forgiving place, it's much easier to forgive someone else. If I'm angry with myself, it's going to be much harder for me to forgive you or to forgive you. So I find that, at least for me, when I cleanse myself, when I clean out those negative energies that start to boil up inside of me, and I say, okay, Carl, you can't be perfect, you can do the best you can do, then I can see the best in her and I can see the best in you.
Well, it's a form of self-hypnosis, what you do, and you do it very naturally. And most of us do it naturally. Unfortunately, most of us do it in the way where we beat ourselves up and then reinforce our negative habits or our ability to hold on to anger or judgment or even expectations. So what you're doing is a great thing because you're doing it naturally and you're allowing forgiveness to happen, which is creates a space for love.
Yeah, forgiveness is a mighty gift.
Yes.
And anger and retaining the hurt and not letting it go can really work on you.
Exactly, it works
Not
on
only
you.
hurt yourself,
Yeah.
You hurt
Yeah.
yourself
it
with
creates
that.
illness.
Yeah, yeah, right.
In your body.
So you had something to talk about illness. Let's talk about illness. Yeah.
So I've learned, well, my card was, every illness has something to teach me. And having been a fitness buff for most of my life, I pretty much always thought fitness cured everything. And it does cure most things. However, about a year and 9 months ago, I had gotten very ill, and I didn't know what was wrong with me. And I was being misdiagnosed for migraine headaches. And I kept getting sick, and then finally I got really, really sick, very ill. And turned out that I had a hyperthyroid condition called Graves' disease.
Oh, that's what Mrs. Bush had.
That's what a lot of people have
Right,
it.
right.
And what it does is initially it causes you to be either very tired or very hyper, a lot of shaking in the body, fever. But the main thing that happens is your body starts to waste away very quickly. The muscle tissue in your body starts to waste away because your metabolism is running at such a high rate, and no matter how much you eat, your body can't support it. So it starts to take tissue from the muscle in order to give you energy. So to make a long story short, I had gone on medication, initially got balanced out, but then I started to feel very sick in a different way. And with all my experience, I decided, I think I'm going to see if I can go a more natural route with this. And it took over a year and a half, but I can say that I have gotten my thyroid back to a normal place, and my Graves' disease is in remission.
Fantastic.
But not through just positive thinking, because you can visualize yourself well all day long. That's just a part of it. You have to also visualize the steps. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to eat every 4 hours. I'm going to exercise every day. Maybe I'm not going to jump around, but maybe I'm going to just do yoga this day. And if I have the energy, I'm going to do extra. And I'm going to sleep, and I'm going to rest, and I'm going to meditate, and I'm going to do all those things together so I can have a more holistic healing process. And at the same time, to not put down Western medicine, because that was what I always did, was, well, I don't need Western medicine. But frankly, I was really happy that Western medicine was available when I got sick, because I would not have initially gotten better to the point where I could go off my medication.
And without Western medicine, you would not have been able to identify exactly what the problem
right.
is. And so a lot of times, and there are a lot of times with people of color, they refuse to go to the doctor. And I learned that from my family. And one of the favors I had to do for myself was not make my past my history. Mm-hmm. So many times with families, and what you learn from your family, hide this, don't say that. We talked about how I learned very early in my life, whatever happens at home, keep it at home, don't tell other people your business. But what happens is you end up telling lies, and lies only hurt you. And when I lie, I have to remember which lie I told you and which lie I told you, and it just becomes a really convoluted mess. Mm-hmm. And what I had to do for myself was say, it is okay, I'm not perfect, but you know what? Neither is anyone else. We were sitting somewhere the other day, and we were talking about disease and illness in general, and we said, in this room, no, every single person in this room has something. We all have something. And what we have to do is identify it, because until you identify it, you can't help yourself. And if you need to go to the doctor, go to the doctor. If you need to exercise, exercise. Don't just say out of your mouth, oh, I need to exercise, because I have family members, and you know who you are, who say over and over again, I need to exercise, and every time I see them, they're 10 pounds heavier. And if I say something, then I'm the villain. But I'm not the villain, because you told me last time I saw you, you were going to exercise. So if I came back and said nothing, then I'm the villain, because I've watched you hurt yourself and gone along with it. And that's something that we do so casually in this world, in this country, in our lives, is just go along with people. People walk in smelling like smoke, and they say, oh, I quit smoking 3 months ago. And you go, all right, yeah, sure, yeah, I'm with you, I get that.
The thing about exercise is that there's a very negative connotation with it for most people initially, maybe from when they were a kid in gym class and punishment. And so we have to, as instructors, be very sensitive to what people's baggage is when they come in about exercise. It's easy for us to say, oh, just go exercise, because we like it. Mm-hmm. We enjoy it most of the time. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people don't understand that they just need to do one little thing, just one teeny tiny thing a day. If that means just walking to the mailbox and back every day for a week, and then the next day walking to somebody else's mailbox and coming back, or just reaching your arms up and down 10 times, it's still better than them not doing anything. So we have to also be sensitive to their baggage that comes in, because it's easy for us to just, say, well, you should do this, family members. I got those family members too, because that's just where they are.
Yeah. And a lot of people come to exercise from a negative experience.
Right.
I know growing up a fat kid, every experience I had in high school with any kind of sports, any kind of activity was negative. The kids were going to climb the rope. Come on, fatso, climb the rope. And every time I see a rope, I clinch. I can't do that. And for years, even though after I got fit, I refused to climb a rope or try to climb a rope, because all of those negative feelings would come up the second that I touched the rope. And I had to disassociate the negative feeling with the rope. And a lot of times with people, they try to exercise before, they try losing weight before, and they associate their negative experience, they make their past their history. And it's very important to say, my past is not my history. Okay, we're going to have to take a break here. You guys have been absolutely wonderful. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you, Carl.
And in our next segment, we're going to come back and we're going to exercise. Don't go anywhere.